On the bottom, we have 5 buttons. The first one is the power button, and then we have some buttons to activate the menu. And then we have the space, the little orifice for the microphone, and another orifice for the reset in case we wanted to reset the camera. Now on the other side, we have the memory card slot, and then we have the input for the rear view camera. This is the reversing camera. Now we're gonna be able to record the front, but with this one, we're also going to be able to record the back. Now this can be mounted in the rear windshield, or it can be mounted in the license plate, which is outside of the car because this is a waterproof, safe camera. That's pretty cool. It also can be tilted so we can adjust and get exactly the right angle that we want. You also get a little power adapter with same thing, a lot of length in here for us to be able to route that and connect it to our cigarette lighter. And you get a little USB connector cable. This is convenient so we can fire up the camera and get familiar with it before installing it on the car. Now to attach the rear camera, you can do it 2 ways. We can use adhesive tape that's provided. That adhesive tape will go here, or we can use the screws. I like the adhesive tape because that's fully reversible. And obviously you get an instruction manual, but some of the menus in here are fairly straightforward, so there's not a lot of need to read. Now finally, in order for us to mount this to the car, here's the mount itself. And this is pretty clever because if you noticed, I haven't shown you a GPS antenna. This camera eliminates an extra outside cable by having the GPS antenna built in. And then look at this, it's magnetic. So it attaches magnetically to the antenna. Now I can mount this to my windshield, and the GPS antenna is hidden in here. So that makes for a very clean, simple installation. This also allows us to remove the camera and walk away with it if we don't want to leave it in the car and thinking, to prevent theft. Let's look at some of the features that the W4K camera has. One of the first things that I want you to notice is how fast it turns on. This has to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest dash cam I have tested in terms of boot up time. Every time you fire the car on, by default it's gonna be recording, which is great. We can get on with our driving. Now also by default, it is gonna show the front of the car, as you can see in here, and the rear of the car in this little square, the picture-in-picture. But I can change that view. I can see just the back of the car with the front being displayed in a little square. Or if I wanted to see the front with no distractions, this would be a good view. Or the rear with no distractions. Notice that there's no picture-in-picture. I'm going to go back to the main view. Now let's look at the menu. This camera is a 4K camera for the front. The rear is 1080 high definition. However, I can still change settings in here, and by bringing the resolution lower, I can put more video into the memory card that I use. Also, we can see the videos by going to the playback menu. This allows us to watch the videos directly on the camera, or we can choose to download the app and connect our phone to the camera, and that is done by the Wi-Fi function. And this camera, for being so small, packs the most features I think I've seen in any of the dash cams that I have tested recently. Now the park option, if you go inside of this menu, it will give you the ability to tell you when something happened when the car was parked. Basically, if somebody bumps into your car and the car is parked, there's gonna be a record of it. However, for that function to be enabled, we have to hardwire the dash cam. Right now the camera is just connected with our cigarette lighter, so I don't have the parking monitor enabled. Gonna go back to the front. The ADS function is also quite interesting because I was not expecting this function when I got this camera. This function, what it does, it will attempt to read the stop lights, and it will basically tell you when the light goes from red to green. Sometimes you forget, you look away, and next thing you know, somebody's honking. Now I say it will attempt to read it because this is something that's very difficult for a camera to do. In fact, Teslas are just getting the ability to recognize stop lights very recently, so this is not something that's easy. I've been driving around with this dash cam, and I have noticed that it's kind of a hit and miss. The light will turn green, and it will tell me the light turned green, but not all the time. I also have this feature on my Garmin filming camera, and it seems to be the same thing. It's kind of hit and miss. So it's just something very difficult. It's nice that they included it in here, but I'm not, really gonna be depending on this to tell me that the light has turned green and I can move forward. Now the Wi-Fi function, like I said, if you enable that and turn it on, we can connect the phone to it and download or view our videos. We can also change the watermark. So this is what's going to display in the video when we look at it on our computer. We can show by default the date, we can show the speed because this camera has built-in GPS, and we can show the location where the incident is happening, and we can change some of the system settings such as the speed. We can change that from kilometers to miles. We can have it so it beep a sound every time you click the menu. I find that quite annoying in all dashcams that I play with, so I always turn it off. And we can change the time zone, date and time, screensaver, all kinds of stuff. Another feature of this dashcam is the G sensor. The G sensor is a sensor built in here that will detect when we get into a car crash or we were to bump another car. And if it does detect a bump, it would automatically save and log that video so it does not get lost. Also notice this little microphone on here. Right now we are recording the audio, basically the conversation that is taking place inside of the passenger compartment, but I can choose to turn that off. Now why might I want to turn it off? Maybe I want to have a private conversation and I might not want the audio recorded. So that's an option to turn the audio off temporarily. Now there's a little battery indicator here. What this is, this camera has a built-in little battery, but it's very, very small. It is gonna allow you to record even if you lose all power in the car. It's only gonna last for a little bit, but that's all you need it for because you just wanna record a little bit of time in front of when an accident happens. So this is not meant to keep it on all the time. If you want to have it on all the time, I recommend getting the hardwire kit. And I'll put a link on the description below if you are interested in getting that. And this mount also can swivel, so we can turn this camera and angle it depending on your windshield. So that's good that they thought about that. People in trucks might have a windshield that is not as steep as a car windshield is. Now let's look at some actual video recorded both at date and at night. So here we're looking at the front camera at daylight. Now again, remember this is a 4K camera, so quite a bit of detail on here. On the lower left hand corner, we can see the coordinates provided by the GPS, as well as the speed that we're traveling at and the date and time. The rear camera is also high definition, and it will provide the best view if it's placed outside of the car. However, I like to have it inside just because it makes installation a lot easier. Now we're driving at night. Again, the front camera. Here we're looking at the rear camera, which again is great for being able to use as a backup camera, making sure that nothing is behind you. For the rear camera, you can see the date information on the lower right corner. Now you don't see the GPS information because this information is being captured by the camera in the front, and both of the cameras are synchronized to each other. Well, as you saw, this camera, for being so small, packs quite a bit of a punch. Now, where am I gonna use this dash cam? For myself, personally, I think I'm gonna install it in the DeLorean. I've been looking for a camera small enough for it to be tucked away somewhere on here, and I think this is the perfect size to do so. If you guys are interested in looking at this camera further, remember I place a link on the description below. I do have more product reviews as well as more car maintenance videos coming up, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next upload. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.